So many things are happening, and they're happening very, very fast. The fuel subsidy fight is on. Today we hear that Labour, the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress have appealed the industrial court order that was secured by the federal government to stop their strike action. It's funny because the federal government actually went to the industrial court to seek to get the ex parte motion, the court order, even prior to asking Labour to come for a meeting. So obviously it was not done in good faith at all. And so now Labour has appealed. Now that Labour has appealed, what is it that you need to know? You need to know that the fight is still on. You need to know that we cannot give up. We need to know that there's hope. Because right now, tell me, how do you feel? What do you think about the chances of this increase in price of petrol being reversed? What do you think? And also let me know if you think that the prices should be reversed, in addition to whether the prices are reversed. Yeah, whether you think the prices are reversed, I think that's just it. If you think the price should be reversed, let us know. If you think that we should still continue with this fight, also let us know. Because right now it will appear that so many Nigerians they have given up. The fighting spirit is broken. Many people have just chosen to go with the flow. I wouldn't advise that. Because if you think that this is the worst it can ever be, it will shock you to know that it is not. These people are planning even worse things. If we let this slide, very soon you hear of the unification of the FX window, which means devaluation of the Naira, which means that most likely you see official black market rate, everything coming together at 750 Naira to $1. And what that means fundamentally is that since NNPC has told you that market forces will determine the price per liter of petrol products, that would mean that again, the price per liter will go up. Because right now, NNPC is basing their current price on the official rate. So don't sit down and think, oh, this is the worst you can get. Let's just take it in and hope that it will pass. It will not pass. Unfortunately, this is not one of those things that you drink over, that you drink yourself and you hope to forget. You drink and you drink and you drink, you sleep and wake up and you find out the problem is still there. You watch movies and you watch and you watch and you watch. You watch yourself to sleep and you wake up and the problem is still there, if not worse. So this is the time to take action. Don't just sit idly by. Take action. NLC has kept us in the fight. Even without NLC, we're still going to do what we're going to do, whatever our widows might, we're still going to do. But as it is now, they have appealed through Femi Falana, which is a good thing. And that gives us hope. That gives us hope, generally. A call for us to join in the fight. Let's join in the fight. Because there are so many lies that the federal government is peddling. Look, nobody is in support of trillions of naira being paid for subsidy, if truly such monies were paid for subsidy. So when people call for subsidy removal, oh, subsidy must go, oh, subsidy cannot come back, or that subsidy is gone, I ask them, which subsidy are you talking about? There was never a subsidy in the first place. Recall what the NNPC said by the Group CEO on Arise TV. The NNPC Group CEO actually said that since 2022, no subsidy has been paid to them. Now, I put it to you. Recall that in 2022, Buhari as president and his minister said that we were spending all of our money on subsidy. And because of that, we could not have money to spend on developmental projects, on capital projects. We were spending everything on paying subsidy almost, and then even borrowing to pay interests. So if that happened in 2022, 2023, why would the Group CEO come now in 2023, the Group CEO of NNPC, to tell Nigeria and Nigerians that They've not received any subsidy. So where did the money go? In fact, if indeed NNPC is saying that from 2015 to 2022 they received subsidy, who did they pay the subsidy money to? These are the transparency questions that we need the NNPC to ask. These are the questions that we expect the administration of Tinubu to ask. Who got the payment of these subsidies? What were the payments for? Because every day it becomes increasingly clear that the NNPC DSDP direct sale, direct purchase program proves that there is no such thing as fuel subsidy. In fact, so many honest analysts have come to say that NNPC does not buy the crude, the refined petrol. NNPC does not buy the refined petrol. NNPC simply gives crude oil to the refineries, which they lift at FOB Point Nigerian Loading Terminal, from where the cost of transportation, the cost of refining, the insurance, the tariffs, and all other things, everything falls on the refinery. And of course, they gain because when they return back refined petrol product, they only send back 3 out of 10 possible distillates. They only return petrol, diesel, and aviation fuel. The other 7 distillates are kept by them, which forms part of their profit, in addition to the fact that the refineries themselves have the crude given to them at discounted rates. So they are making huge profits. They are making huge profits from these DSDP program of the NNPC, despite the fact that it is FOB Nigerian Loading Terminal. So effectively, NNPC does not buy refined petrol. It does not spend a single dollar to buy refined petrol product. It simply gives crude oil value to the refineries, and the refineries give back equal value in petroleum product, refined petroleum products. So technically or effectively, NNPC does not buy the crude. And when NNPC takes custody of the refined product from Rotterdam refineries, from the refineries, it sells directly to the oil marketers, whether the major oil marketers or the minor independent oil marketers, who, being ably represented by Mrs. Winifred Akbani, came on national TV also after their visit to Tinubu at the Aso Rock. When they called the press conference, she came out to also say that, oh, they buy before for 4 billion, about approximately 4 billion, actually about 3.5 to 4 billion billion naira for 20,000 metric ton of refined petrol products. That means that the oil marketers have been paying an average of 175 naira per liter for fuel before the so-called subsidy removal that informed the increase in pump price of petrol. This proves further that before this increase, there was no subsidy because the marketers were buying at an average rate of 175 naira per liter, and they were selling at 195 naira. So they were already making profits. Add on top of that the fact that NNPC was also already making over 100 naira per liter profit, selling at 175 to the oil marketers. So there is no subsidy. These are statements that have been made by oil marketers and NNPC themselves, and DSDP backed agreements. These are not statements that are made out of the thin air. They are facts. They are facts. No subsidy at all. So going by this fact that there's no subsidy, it only makes sense for us to continue this fight, since the the NLC, Nigerian Labour Congress, and the Trade Union Congress have actually appealed the court order stopping them from going on strike. Hopefully, whatever the outcome of their appeal is, they still have the hearing on the 19th of June. But before then, the fight is still on. We can take our own legal action. And that is why every single Nigerian needs to keep faith. We need to key in to these this advocacy, this not struggle, this fight against the cabals that are holding Nigeria ransom, holding Nigeria by the jugular. We need to keep the fight. When you speak, I speak, he speaks, she speaks, they speak, every one of us speak, then it's difficult for them to target any individual person. Don't keep quiet. The least you can do if you're watching this video is at least like the video so that YouTube can recommend it to more Nigerians, and also share it to other platforms, to other persons, so that they can also see it. Because the more information we share around, the more people are empowered. Many people have given up because they think that there is no fight. But I tell you, there is fight, and it is a winnable fight. Now, to win this fight, we need to get some information right. Number one, we need to know that there are several lies that are being peddled right now by the federal government. And they are doing it, they are spending a lot of money. You heard what Mrs. Akpani said, that they have vowed that they will disseminate the right information out there. Underline the word vowed, meaning that they will spend the billions that they have to probably buy over the media, take over the oil expert space, and push their narratives that are lies. Narratives that we should put our own counter narrative to correct. Now, there are several questions that their narratives actually raises, several misconceptions. And those questions, we'll answer them in this video very, very quickly. Number one, Nigeria is subsidizing our neighbors through smuggling because Nigeria is subsidizing our neighbors through smuggling because our fuel is cheaper. Now, this is so false. Yes, they have come out to say, oh, the neighboring countries are protesting. It's all propaganda. Oh, they have raised their prices. It's all propaganda. Let me tell you why. Nigeria is not the cheapest fuel in Africa. Libya sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Angola sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Egypt sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Now, if you look at these three countries that I mentioned, you may say they are far away from Nigeria as they are not our direct neighbors. But look, Nigeria is not the first country and is definitely not the only country to sell fuel cheaper than her neighbors. Like I mentioned before, Libya sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. Egypt sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. Angola sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. And all of these three countries sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Now, if you go outside of Africa, you have Iran. It sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. You have Venezuela. In fact, their fuel is so cheap and it's much cheaper than her neighbors. Yet, these countries do not complain of their fuel being smuggled out. So why should Nigeria's case be different? And by the way, from the analysis that has been done by the governor of Nasarawa State and also by Mrs. Akpani, it becomes very clear that the only persons with capacity to smuggle these goods out are the major oil marketers themselves. So if really smuggling is the problem, increase in the price of petrol is not the solution. It is catching those smugglers and bringing them to justice. That's the solution. In any case, we were supposed to have a solution that we bought. The federal government, the FEC approved, Federal Executive Council approved a software worth about 50 billion naira in the administration of Buhari to monitor these tankers so that we can curb smuggling. Where is that software? If it's not active, where is the money? And by the way, I make bold to say that, in fact, there is no smuggling out. It's only an arrangement to make it look like there is smuggling. I want to believe, and this is my opinion now, that NNPC inflates the quantity of fuel that it brings in and then places the excess consumption on smuggling to support their subsidy claim. That's my opinion. But it makes sense. By the time we go to court and we subpoena documents and we get the true evidence, I'm sure we'll be able to clear all of these. But in any case, in any case, increasing the price of fuel so that it can be more expensive or at par with our neighbors is not a solution, considering the fact that we have not put infrastructure in place, electricity, good road, good education, good health care. We have not put those things in place. We have not worked on creating jobs that will empower people and increase their spending power. So just increasing the fuel price would definitely not be the first way to go. If it is smuggling that is a problem, the smuggling can be dealt with. It is not a justification, because Nigeria is not the only country nor the first country to sell fuel cheaper than her neighbors. I mentioned Iran, I mentioned Venezuela, I mentioned Libya, I mentioned Egypt, I mentioned Congo. These countries all sell fuel cheaper than their neighbors, and they didn't have smuggling problem. Why should Nigeria have smuggling problem? Number two, subsidy must go because it is consuming all of Nigeria's revenues. That is what we were told by Buhari in 2022, in 2015, 2016, 2017. That's what we were told in early 2023, half year, that we spent 4.4 trillion naira on subsidy in 2022, almost 3 trillion in first half of 2023. That's what we were told. And then NNPC comes on air to say that, no, we did not get the money. Meanwhile, Buhari and in his administration actually said we were spending all this money, and not just that we're spending all this money, that we were borrowing to pay interest on this money, and we were consuming almost 100% of our money, of our revenues, to pay for this subsidy. So if subsidy was paid and now NNPC is coming to say, oh, we were not given the subsidy, where did the subsidy payment of 4.4 trillion, at least for 2022, not even minding the ones before then, from 2015 upwards, where did those subsidy payments go and what were they for? Because the understanding is that there is no fuel subsidy by virtue of the DSDP arrangement, which the NNPC should explain to us. Nobody is asking about this. Makes me think really perhaps they have bought over the media, because you have experienced journalists in the media, print and television and radio, who are not asking these questions. So we cannot say that subsidy is consuming all of our resources. It is not, because NNPC did not receive any subsidy money. So where did the subsidy go? That's another lie. Number three, fuel subsidy was putting pressure on Nigeria's FX. That's not true. Like we have established from the DSDP arrangement, NNPC does not buy the refined petrol product. It does not. It only gives crude oil to the refineries, and the refineries give back refined petrol in equal value to the crude oil they were given. It's a trade by barter thing. They do not spend $1 to pay for the refining or the transportation of the crude oil to the refineries. They don't. That is the sole responsibility of the refineries, based on the FOB ship Nigerian loading terminal that is specified in the agreement. So NNPC does not buy the refined petrol. And of course, after NNPC gets the refined petrol in its custody, it then sells in Nigerian naira to our oil marketers. And from what Mrs. Akpani, a representative of the oil marketers, on their visit to Tinubu in Aso Rock, on what she said in their press conference, what she said was that they actually spent 4 billion, between 4 billion, an average of 4 billion to buy the refined petrol, which means they actually spend naira, they do not spend dollars. So coming to say that fuel subsidy is putting pressure on Nigeria's FX, that is not true. Number four, NNPC was paying fuel subsidy to oil marketers. Of course, we all know that this is simply not true, because from the statement made by the Group CEO of NNPC himself, he said they've not received subsidy payments since 2022 and 2023. All right. And then also adding on top of that, the statement made by Mrs. Akpani in her press conference upon the visit of oil marketers to Tinubu in Aso Rock in Abuja. Her statements read that they were buying the refined petrol in naira. So that, and they were buying at an average rate of 175 naira per liter and selling at 195 naira per liter. So where is the subsidy? They obviously were not being subsidized. In fact, they were selling and making a profit of about 20 naira per liter, which is not bad. So NNPC was not paying subsidy to oil marketers. Oil marketers needed dollars to bring in refined petrol products into Nigeria. Of course, we know this is a lie, because oil marketers actually just buy these products in Naira from the NNPC after they receive it from the refineries, which NNPC really doesn't buy. They just exchange crude oil for refined petrol products, and once they get it in their custody, they sell in Naira to the oil marketers. So the oil marketers having to go source for dollars to bring refined petrol into Nigeria, that is not true. NNPC, that's number 6 now. NNPC buys refined fuel from abroad at high cost and subsidizes it for Nigeria. NNPC does not buy refined petrol. It does not buy refined petrol. Based on the DSDP arrangement, NNPC does not buy refined petrol. That is a lie. Number 7, subsidy. Fuel subsidy removal is the same as pump price increase for petrol. It is not. Fuel subsidy is one thing, increase in pump price of petrol is another thing. You can remove subsidy without increasing the pump price of fuel, of petrol. You can do that. If you choose to unravel the fraud, the criminality in the fuel subsidy regime, you'll see that there is no subsidy in the first place. And obviously, if you go after the people responsible for that, the perpetrators of this fraud, and you recover Nigeria's money, you'll find out that there's really no need to increase the pump price of petrol. Then you can have money to revive our refineries and then create more jobs, activate Ajaokuta Steel, create more jobs, fix our electricity sector, create more jobs. And once you do that, then the likes of Dangote have come on stream. Other refineries, the owner of Boa, we understand, is also working on his own refinery. By the time all of this come in, there's competition, their market forces can come in. But right now, it is not market forces, it is monopoly, since it is only Dangote. And if all others also come in, the likes of the owner of Boa Cement running his own, then it becomes an oligopoly, which also does not mean well for Nigeria. We need serious competition, and that would mean both state-run refinery working side by side, private-owned refinery. That can be achieved without increasing the price of petrol. That can be achieved by going after the perpetrators of the subsidy fraud and recovering Nigeria's money, rather than punishing Nigerians with increase in price. That can be achieved. Number 8, subsidy removal only affects the rich and not the poor. That is simply not true. I explained in another video that the rich who have money to buy SUVs, they have businesses that they run, and they will just transfer the cost of this increased price of fuel to their businesses, and the businesses will transfer it to their customers. And of course, it means they won't bear it. On the other hand, the poor man who does not have a car would need to pay times 2, times 3 for transportation, and everything goes up from there. Food goes up, his transportation need goes up, his transportation need for his children goes up, for his wife goes up, the feeding cost for his children, for his wife goes up, everything goes up. And you see that all of these, spending 1,005 per day, means that the average minimum wage of 30,000 cannot even take care of transportation alone, not to talk of feeding, not to talk of transportation for children, not to talk of schooling, not to talk of house rent, not to talk of clothing. In fact, it becomes a nightmare. Nigerians are suffering right now. So to come out and say that the increase in price of petrol only affects the rich is simply a lie. It is not true. It is not true at all. It doesn't even affect the rich, because they have the money, and of course they will transfer it into their businesses and then transfer it to the customers. But the poor do not have that luxury. So they are the ones that are really bearing the brunt. That's number 8. And then number 9. Increasing fuel price. Increasing the fuel price in the name of subsidy removal will create jobs. It will not. It will kill jobs. Even if you say that, oh, the CNGs, the compressed natural gas devices will be assembled here, they are still imported. Doesn't make it any cheaper, right? So, and whatever number of jobs you think it will create, it will definitely kill a lot more jobs. before those even arrive, you'll see that or discover that a lot of people would have lost their jobs. Many people would just simply not be able to go to work anymore because they can't afford transport fare. Right now, states are even talking about rationing number of days that staff work. How does that work for school students or pupils? Do you mean that students will now have to go to work only 3 times a day? Think about the effect on that on the quality of education that we give our children. Think about it. So, for me, it may appear as though that's a wise decision, but personally, my opinion, I don't think that's a wise decision. The thing that we need to do is return the price of fuel to what they used to be and then go after these so-called criminals, these people that have held this country hostage and squandered our resources. Let's recover our monies from them, and we have the money to fund any developmental projects that we need. These are the lies. It is incumbent on you and I to share these videos so that more people can see it. Share them, cut them into short videos, cut them, post them. Let more Nigerians see this message. Let them hear it so that they can know that the fight is on and it is very, very winnable. Considering the fact that Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, NLC and TUC, have appealed the court order from the industrial court stopping their industrial action, which means that if things don't go well 19th, then the NLC can still go on strike. And I want to urge the NLC to hold on to their positions. The questions they have been asking, they should be asked. The landing cost of fuel, petrol, in fact, I've been made to understand is even less than $30. The effective truth is that NNPC does not really buy the refined petrol. They don't really buy it. So it's way cheaper than even that 80 naira per liter, way cheaper. So these are the questions that they should be asked. Who collected the fuel subsidy 2022, 2023, even before then? Since the NNPC Group CEO is saying that they were not paid, meanwhile it was budgeted for and expended. So who got the money? We need to find out. All these are questions. Now, the billions that we have spent on our refineries, we need to get those monies back because the refineries were not revamped. In fact, according to the governor of Nasarawa State, we have spent over $20 billion from 2015 to 2023 under Buhari to turn around our refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. Meanwhile, they are not working. So if the job was not done, can we have our money back? Can we call to question those who are responsible for it, get them to finish the job, or get them to refund our money? Can we do that? Once we do that, refineries are working at least 445,000 barrels per day. Production will take care of at least 70 to 80% of our needs. And add on top of that, Dangote Refinery, Bola Refinery, then we are good to go to have a healthy, competitive environment for fuel prices to thrive. This is the way to go rather than punishing Nigerians. Nigeria, get up, wake up, collect your money, wake up, ask the right questions, wake up, share these videos so that more Nigerians will be conscious and aware and take this fight to these people that are struggling and wanting to keep us enslaved. This is the 21st century. I refuse to be a slave. What about you?